I gave her a home, a future, and trust. She left me with a lawsuit, a child I couldn't keep, and a silence that still follows me. The first time I saw Naomi, she was holding a folder of medical documents and gently rubbing her pregnant belly in our kitchen, the same space where Emily and I had spent years imagining the family we never could have. We were in the final trimester. Everything was supposed to be almost over, or just beginning, depending how you looked at it. Emily sat across from her, trying to stay professional, but I could see the crack behind her eyes. She never got used to this arrangement, not fully. Even though we chose Naomi, even though the contract was solid, this was never just business. Naomi had a soft smile and a strange calm that made her presence feel permanent. She wasn't just carrying our child, she moved in for medical reasons when the doctor labeled her high risk. Emily and I agreed it would be safer. Just until the baby's born, we told ourselves. But then the baby came. And Emily left. Not right away. Not with a bang. Just a slow, vanishing act. She returned to work 2 weeks after the birth. Long hours. Overnight conferences. Silent dinners. Naomi stayed. She stayed because her recovery was harder than expected. Because her little daughter, Maya, had just started calling our house home. Because it was just a few more weeks. Because I didn't know how to say no. Naomi cooked dinner sometimes. She knew how to fold my shirts the way I liked. She laughed at my corny jokes when Emily didn't even look up from her phone. And somewhere between sleep-deprived nights, feedings, and silence, Naomi started to fill the air Emily had left behind. I remember the night it shifted. Maya was asleep. The baby had just stopped crying. I walked into the living room, and Naomi was there, on the couch, in one of Emily's old sweatshirts. She looked up, smiled softly. "You're doing a good job, Daniel," she said. And I believed her. I told myself it was just appreciation. Just kindness. But her eyes lingered too long. And when I walked past her to the kitchen, I could feel her still watching me. The next morning, she made me coffee before I could reach the pot. Little things. I should have noticed them sooner. Because little things grow teeth when you're not paying attention. She slipped into the spaces my wife left behind, so gently I didn't notice until it was too late. There's something about 3 a.m. silence that makes everything feel more fragile. The baby had finally drifted off in my arms, soft breath against my chest. I sat on the couch, letting my muscles relax for the first time in hours. Naomi was there, too. Legs tucked beneath her, hair pulled into a loose bun, eyes on the flickering TV, though I doubt she was watching it. Her daughter, Maya, had fallen asleep on the rug beside us, wrapped in a blanket that used to belong to Emily. Emily. I checked my phone again. No new messages. Naomi noticed. She always noticed. But instead of asking, she stood up slowly and took the baby from my arms like it was the most natural thing in the world. Our fingers touched, light, brief, but it was enough to send a current through my chest. She held the baby to her shoulder and hummed a tune I didn't recognize. Something slow and warm, like a lullaby passed down from somewhere far older than either of us. "She's been gone 4 days now," Naomi said softly. I didn't respond. I didn't want to say out loud that I had no idea where my wife was. Or why the sound of Naomi's voice felt more familiar now than Emily's. "She always wore that perfume," Naomi added after a moment. "Vanilla and orange blossom. But the house smells like pine and coffee now." She didn't say it accusingly. It was just an observation. A quiet fact. I stared at the spot on the wall where our wedding photo used to hang. Emily had taken it down 2 weeks after the baby was born. Said she was redecorating. Said a lot of things. Naomi laid the baby in the bassinet and came back to the couch. We sat there in silence for a long time. She didn't lean into me. Didn't touch my hand. But the space between us felt charged, like one deep breath could tip the whole room off balance. "I can leave," she whispered eventually. "If it's getting too hard." The words sat between us like a loaded gun. I turned toward her, but she didn't meet my gaze. "Maya's happy here," I said. "And the baby, she sleeps better when you're around." "And you?" she asked, almost too quiet to hear. I opened my mouth, but no sound came out. She nodded, like that was an answer in itself. Later that night, I stood outside on the porch, letting the cold air bite at my skin. I didn't know what I was doing anymore. I didn't know who I was being loyal to, my wife who had vanished, or the woman who held our child like she belonged to her. Inside, Naomi was folding tiny onesies by the nursery lamp. The kind of domestic peace Emily and I had tried to fake for years. I watched her through the window for a long time. And that was the first night I didn't call my wife. I didn't kiss her, but I let her kiss my silence. The next morning, the sun poured in too brightly, like it was trying to expose something. Naomi was in the kitchen. Barefoot. Wearing a soft beige sweater I'd never seen before. It might have been Emily's. It might not have. I didn't ask. Maya sat at the table, swinging her legs, chattering about a dream she'd had. Her voice made the house feel like it belonged to someone else, someone whose life hadn't cracked in the middle. I poured coffee and stood at the window, pretending to read emails. But I wasn't reading anything. I was counting all the things Emily hadn't said in a week. Naomi glanced at me while scrambling eggs. "You okay?" That question, that simple, human question, hit deeper than I expected. "I think so," I lied. She nodded. "You don't have to carry all this alone." It should have annoyed me. But it didn't. It calmed something in me, like her voice was a lid pressed gently on a boiling pot. Later that afternoon, I found myself fixing the nursery shelf. It wasn't broken. It just tilted slightly. I needed something to do. Something that didn't involve staring at Naomi when she wasn't looking. That's when I heard it. Naomi on the phone, low voice, speaking quickly. Her bedroom door was open a crack. I shouldn't have stopped. But I did. "No, I haven't told him," she said. Pause. "Because it's not like that. I'm not trying to ruin anything." A longer pause. "No. He doesn't know about the letter." I stepped away fast, heart thudding, hands suddenly unsure what to do. "A letter? Who? What?" I waited until after dinner to ask her. The kids were asleep. The dishes done. "Who were you talking to today?" Naomi didn't flinch. "My sister. Back home." I waited. "What letter?" That stopped her. Her hands stiffened around the dish towel. She looked at me carefully, then sighed. "Emily left me a note." My world tipped. When? The day she left. It was in the laundry room. Taped to the inside of the dryer door. I stared at her. "And you didn't tell me?" Naomi stepped closer, voice low. "Because it wasn't meant for you." The rage came fast, then cooled just as quickly, not because it vanished, but because exhaustion wore it down. "Do you still have it?" She nodded. "Can I see it?" Naomi hesitated, then walked to her room. She returned with a folded piece of lined paper, creased, slightly smudged. I opened it. "Daniel doesn't see me anymore. And I don't know if I see myself. I need space. I need quiet. I need to feel like a woman again, not just a machine built to produce a life we can't create. Don't make this worse for him. Please. E." My throat dried. I read it 3 times. The last line burned like ice. "Don't make this worse for him." I folded it slowly. "She trusted you." Naomi looked at the floor. And I didn't plan this. I swear. I didn't answer. Because the truth was, neither did I. But the tide had already shifted. And none of us were standing on sand anymore. Emily left quietly, Naomi stayed loudly. The note sat on my nightstand for 3 days before I touched it again. Not because I was avoiding it, but because every word had already etched itself behind my eyes. I could recite it in the dark. I did, once. Whispered it to myself like a prayer I didn't believe in. Naomi didn't mention it again. She acted like handing me that paper reset the scales, like the debt had been paid. But things weren't balanced. The air between us grew heavier with each passing day. Not tense. Not hostile. Just thick with something unspoken. Like we were waiting for a conversation we both hoped the other would start. Then came the doctor visit. The baby had her 2-month checkup. Emily should have been there. I thought about calling her, but the silence between us had stretched too far. Naomi came with me. She sat beside me in the waiting room, filling out the forms in her even, looping handwriting. When the nurse called us in, Naomi rose first, like this was hers to do. She handed over insurance info. Spoke to the pediatrician like she belonged. No hesitation. No second glances at me for permission. And the doctor, he assumed she was the mother. Didn't even ask. I opened my mouth to correct him. But I didn't. Afterwards, we stopped for coffee. The baby was asleep in her car seat between us. Naomi stirred her drink without looking up. Why didn't you tell him? I looked at her. Tell who what? The doctor. That I'm not her mother. I sipped my coffee. I didn't think it mattered. She looked out the window. It does to me. That night, Naomi wore a dress to dinner. Simple. Soft green. I'd never seen it before. It wasn't for me. But it wasn't not for me, either. She laughed more than usual. Complimented my cooking, even though I'd burned the rice. Maya kept hugging my arm. For a moment, it looked like a family. Not mine. Not Emily's. Something in between. After the dishes, I stepped out to the backyard. The baby monitor clipped to my belt. Crickets buzzed in the hedges. The stars were low and full. Naomi joined me minutes later. She didn't say anything at first. Just stood beside me, arms crossed, head tilted toward the sky. Did you ever think, she said slowly, that maybe life doesn't go wrong, it just goes elsewhere? I didn't answer. She turned to face me. I'm not asking you for anything. I just want you to stop pretending there's nothing here. I looked at her, really looked at her. Not the woman carrying our child. Not the guest in our home. Just her. She stepped forward. I didn't move. And when she leaned in, I didn't stop her. Her lips brushed mine. Once. Soft. Questioning. She pulled back, searching my face. I didn't speak. I didn't kiss her again. But I didn't walk away. The kiss didn't ruin me, the silence after it did. We didn't talk about it the next morning. Naomi made French toast like it was any other day. Maya laughed at cartoons. The baby cooed from her bouncer by the window. And I sat there, sipping coffee, pretending the taste wasn't bitter. But the kiss lingered like smoke in a room with no windows. She didn't bring it up. And I didn't ask. Instead, I spent most of the day in the garage. Fixing things that didn't need fixing. Reorganizing shelves. Looking for quiet inside the clatter. Emily used to say I ran from conflict by hiding in tools. I used to say she ran from conflict by disappearing entirely. And maybe we were both right. That night, Naomi knocked gently on the doorframe. You okay? I looked up from the workbench. Nodded. Just thinking. She hesitated. Do you regret it? There it was. No context. No clarification. Just the question laid bare between us. I wiped my hands on a rag. I don't know what I feel. Naomi stepped inside, arms crossed. I'm not asking for you to feel anything. I just need to know if I made it worse. I didn't answer right away. Because I didn't know. Or because I did. No, I said finally. You didn't make it worse. She nodded once and left. The quiet she left behind was heavier than before. 2 days later, a letter arrived. Addressed to me. Emily's handwriting. It wasn't long. Daniel, I need more time. Please don't look for me. I'm safe. I'm just not ready to come home. I hope the baby is well. I'm sorry I'm not stronger. E. I stared at it for a long time. Reread it until the letters blurred. Not ready to come home. Hope the baby is well. No mention of missing us. Of love. Of regret. Naomi found me sitting on the front steps, letter still in hand. She didn't speak. Just sat beside me and waited. Eventually, I folded the paper and tucked it into my jacket. She's not coming back, I said. Naomi didn't nod. Didn't offer comfort. Just stayed. That night, I moved to the guest room. Not hers. Not mine. Just a space between two decisions I hadn't made yet. It wasn't the way she touched me, it was the way the world stopped when she did. A week passed. Then 2. Emily didn't write again. Naomi never asked about her. Not once. But her presence filled every space Emily used to leave behind. And I let it. I started noticing how Maya laughed more when I was in the room. How the baby calmed faster when Naomi handed her to me. How the house, despite everything, no longer felt like something crumbling, just something unfamiliar. A strange version of peace. One evening, I came home to find dinner already on the table. Candles. Music. Maya giggling in the other room. Naomi wore a soft black dress. Nothing revealing. But it landed like a confession. I stood there too long, unsure whether to sit, speak, or run. You don't have to pretend tonight, she said, setting down 2 plates. Just eat. Just be here. And for reasons I couldn't name, I did. We didn't talk much during dinner. It wasn't awkward, it was heavy with understanding. Like neither of us trusted words not to set something on fire. After the dishes, she poured wine. We sat outside again, the baby monitor between us. The air was cool. Quiet. She leaned in, and this time, I met her halfway. No one said anything. No declarations. No promises. But when we kissed, it wasn't soft. It wasn't questioning. It was surrender. The next morning, I woke before dawn. She was still asleep, curled into the pillow. I sat on the edge of the bed, forehead in my hands, trying to feel either guilt or clarity. I felt neither. Instead, I felt the tug of something irreversible. Later, while she fed the baby, Naomi asked, carefully. What happens now? I didn't answer. Not because I didn't know. But because I did. That night, a certified letter arrived. From an attorney. Emily's signature on the envelope. Inside, divorce papers. And a single line handwritten at the bottom. Keep the house. I won't fight you on anything. But I want no part of what you've become. My hands trembled, but not from heartbreak. From the way the truth rewrites itself when you let it linger too long. Naomi didn't ask what was in the envelope. I didn't show her. She didn't steal my heart, she leased it, then sued for full ownership. The court summons came on a Thursday morning. A thin envelope, hand-delivered. I thought it was a mistake at first, until I saw Naomi's name listed as the plaintiff. Custody petition. Alleging shared emotional parenting, prolonged cohabitation, and established maternal-child bonding. She wasn't just asking for visitation rights. She was asking for shared legal custody of the baby. My child. The same child Emily and I had planned, named, dreamed about before we ever met Naomi. Before paperwork and ultrasounds and heartbeats. I read the documents twice. Then a third time. Each word felt like a slap disguised as legal language. I confronted her that night, paper in hand. Maya was upstairs. The baby asleep. You filed this? Naomi didn't look surprised. Just tired. I had to. No, you didn't. My voice cracked, not with anger, but disbelief. I did, she said quietly. Because this is my home now. And she's mine, too. She's not, I snapped. She's not yours. You were the surrogate. That's it. Naomi's jaw clenched, but she didn't yell. Don't say it like I was just a vessel. You were paid. We had a contract. I wasn't paid to love her, she said. But I did. And that doesn't vanish because your wife disappeared and you decided to rewrite history. The room went silent. She crossed her arms. You let me stay. You let Maya call this home. You let us happen. And now you want to pretend I don't matter. I looked at her, really looked at her. And in that moment, I saw not betrayal, but strategy. Something colder than heartbreak. You planned this, I said. She didn't deny it. I protected your child when her mother walked out, Naomi said. Now I'm protecting mine. The implication landed like a hammer. I stepped back. She's not your daughter. Naomi's eyes were wet, but her voice stayed firm. Not yet. That night, I couldn't sleep. I held the baby close, listening to her tiny breaths, wondering how many things I'd mistaken for love. Outside Naomi's room, her light stayed on all night. And by morning, she'd called a second attorney. I thought betrayal would look like a broken vow, not a polished lawyer reading from a folder. The courtroom was smaller than I expected. No grandeur. Just gray walls, fluorescent lighting, and the sound of papers being shuffled like cards before a bad hand. Naomi sat across from me at the long wooden table. Her attorney spoke for her, calm, precise, practiced. As if this wasn't tearing open the life I'd built. She wore a navy dress and didn't look at me once. My lawyer leaned in and whispered, she's invoking psychological parenthood. It's rare. But not unheard of. Psychological parenthood. The term sounded like something pulled from a lecture hall, not a weapon used in a custody battle. She claimed emotional permanence. Said she'd been there since birth. Provided nourishment, comfort, stability. Claimed that removing her would traumatize the child. They even had statements. From neighbors. From Maya's school. From the pediatrician. They'd built a narrative. And I'd been too asleep inside my own grief to see it coming. When my turn came, I spoke carefully. She's not the mother, I said, voice steady. She was part of our lives, yes. But this child was planned by my wife and me. Naomi was a surrogate. Nothing more. Naomi flinched at that. I noticed. But the judge didn't. He just took notes. Outside the courthouse, she caught up with me. I didn't want this to be ugly, she said, barely above a whisper. I turned to her. You sued me. She blinked. You let me become everything. Then tried to make me nothing. I trusted you, I said. I needed help. And you used that need like a ladder. Naomi's voice cracked. I loved her. Still do. That's not strategy, Daniel. That's truth. I looked at her, really looked. And for the first time, I didn't see the warmth. I saw the ambition beneath it. She's not a prize, I said. She's a person. And you've turned her into a court argument. Naomi stepped back. So have you. We didn't speak again that day. But that night, I sat by the crib, watching the rise and fall of my daughter's chest, wondering how many adults had already laid claim to pieces of her that she didn't understand. Losing her didn't happen all at once, it was a quiet theft, one ruling at a time. The final hearing was on a rainy Tuesday. The kind of day where the sky felt heavy enough to fall in. I wore the same suit I'd been married in. It barely fit now. Like it belonged to a thinner, more hopeful man. Naomi sat 2 rows ahead with her attorney. Maya wasn't there. Neither was Emily. The judge spoke in a tone meant to sound neutral, but it still carved into me like a verdict I'd written myself. Shared custody. Naomi would have legal standing. Scheduled time. Decision-making rights. All because I let her stay too long. Let her fill too many silences. Let my grief open the door wide enough for her to walk through, and stay. Afterwards, I didn't go home. I drove. Nowhere specific. Just forward. 3 hours and 2 gas stations later, I found myself at the edge of a beach we once visited, Emily and I. Before all of this. Before hope turned into litigation. I watched the waves. Felt the cold sting the tips of my fingers. Pulled out my phone. No new messages. Just an old photo. Emily holding the baby, eyes tired but smiling. That brief window when we thought we'd made it. I sent her a message. She's okay. Naomi got what she wanted. I lost what I didn't protect fast enough. I'm sorry for everything. I hope you're safe. I hit send. Didn't wait for a reply. Didn't expect one. That night, I returned to a house that didn't feel like mine. Naomi was there. She said nothing when I walked in. Just handed me the baby, warm and sleepy. She missed you, she said. I didn't respond. Because in her eyes, I could see it, the quiet triumph of someone who knew the system would favor permanence over paper. And I had nothing left to fight with but silence. I didn't lose her all at once, I lost her in 1,000 quiet moments I didn't know were goodbyes. It's been 16 months. I see my daughter every other weekend. The schedule is court approved, color-coded, typed neatly into my phone like an appointment I never asked for. Naomi lives 3 blocks away now. Same neighborhood. Same grocery store. Sometimes we pass each other in the parking lot. She nods. I nod. We pretend that civility is enough to erase what we were. Maya started calling me Uncle Danny. It broke me the first time. Shattered something deep that I didn't know had cracks left in it. I didn't correct her. Naomi never mentioned the kiss again. Never brought up the court, the nights, the warmth, the war. We became ghosts with shared visitation. Emily never responded to my last message. I heard through mutual friends she moved to Oregon. Yoga. Silence retreats. A new life built on the ashes of the one she abandoned. Sometimes I think she burned the bridge to keep from ever crossing back. Last week, I found the ring. Buried in the back of a drawer I hadn't touched since before the baby came. It was still in the velvet box. Still shining. Still a lie. I took it to the beach. The same one from before. The one with the sharp wind and the gray water and the memory of who we were. I stood at the edge. Waited for a sign. Got nothing. So I threw it. Hard. Far. Watched it vanish beneath the waves without a splash. And then I sat down in the sand, pulled out the photo I kept folded in my wallet, the three of us, smiling. A moment stolen from a version of life that never got to finish its sentence. I wrote a letter to my daughter that night. I didn't write about Naomi. Or Emily. Or the court. I wrote about the time she fell asleep on my chest. The way she smelled like milk and new skin. The way I used to hum to her in the dark. I ended it with, I didn't leave you. I just couldn't stay where I was being erased. I don't know if she'll ever read it. But if she does, maybe she'll know. That once, a man loved her so much he lost everything else trying to hold on. And maybe that's enough.